What's up, party people? Quack, 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 quack. I'm in a hotel, and I'm so I don't have my amazing microphone. So the audio might not be as great. So I hope that you can still enjoy the video, okay? Because, you know. So anyway, this is in my room. Hey. So I'm at like the University of South Carolina, basically. They into the Gamecocks. All right, so long and the short of it is, what's up? Basically, I'm going to kind of do my February, what I read. I read 7 books this month, though. So, and I don't have any of them with me, so I'm going to have to put the picture up here. All right, that's enough of that. All right. Okay, so here's what I read. I started out the month by reading a phenomenal book, of Blood and Fire by Ryan Cahill. Ryan. You guys, I love that book. It was so flipping good. And actually, I've been just trying my best not to just immediately go into the second book, but because I have some obligations I need to do. Some books I got to finish and that kind of stuff. But boy, oh boy, I love that world. And I know for some people, they're like, there's nothing new here. All right, I don't care. I mean, I just like it. I love it. This was so good. And most people have already read it. I'm always a little late to the game, but boy, oh boy, did I dig that. And I'm trying to figure out here, because, you know, basically it would have been awesome if I made some notes. But I gave it 5 stars, and I personally, you know what? I don't care, okay? I don't care if you thought it sucked, because I thought it was awesome. And you know what? As far as I'm concerned, he can keep cranking out books. You know, if he wants to put out a book or 2 or 4 every year, I mean, I'm at this point, I'm kind of all in. So you keep it up there, RC. Here's the other one I read. Well, I mean, here's the second. The second book I read was Frank Herbert's Direct Descent. And the reason I read this was because I had heard about this when I listened to the biography by his son, Brian Herbert, Dune, Dreamer of Dune. I read that, excuse me, I read that last month. And, you know, I mean, the Dreamer of Dune, there were some things about that book that were, I mean, it was really informative and nice. I had given that 4 stars. So for this one, this was a biography by Brian Herbert. And in it, he really, in a lot of ways, he discloses, you know, the life of his father. And it was so good. You know, I gave it 4 stars just because I was curious and interested in the guy. And so one of the books that was referenced was this Direct Descent. I don't think it was called that, though, but it had to do with this idea of, you know, kind of storing knowledge, this library, and the important role that these librarians had. And ultimately, I probably 2 stars was being generous. And I looked at some of the other reviews that people had, and yeah, you're going to have diehard, you know, Herbertonians who are going to love everything just because it came from the hand of, and look, the reason I was so interested, I love books about books. So if we're talking about a library, hello, I'm all in. But it was like literally 2 different stories kind of colliding. And it just was, you know, the premise was kind of cool at first, and I thought, all right, this is gonna be pretty good, and it just started to unravel. It just got, I don't know. I felt like he had 2 different ideas. If he'd developed either of them, well, it could have been kind of cool. But that's my personal opinion. I get if you loved it, well, fine. But I don't think I'm going to read anything else by Frank Herbert that's not in the Dune world. That's kind of where I'm at right now with Herbert. The third book that I read was a book by Michael O'Brien. I've been reading this for a long time. This was a monster book. I mean, it was 1,200 something pages, and it was, it was very good. But I think I gave it 4 stars, partly because, after spending that long with this book, it just gets in your skin. And so I found myself I like this about Michael O'Brien's writing anyways, is that he's not interested in a fast, quick, paced, action-packed book. He likes to kind of unfold these characters in a way that they have to, and there's a lot of reflecting that goes on, but they have to kind of go through these circumstances and situations, and there's always these avenues and opportunities for them to unpack their meaning of life. And so the books are always filled with, kind of a religious perspective and philosophies, and in some ways, it's a little contrived at times. I feel like it's that nobody's having these real conversations like this as much as his characters do. But this ultimately, at its core, is just about a father whose son is in a cult, and he pursues his son to try to help get him out of it. But the people who are in control of the cult continue to stop him at every road. It's pretty intense. The weird thing is, though, the last third of the book, it totally switches into almost like an action-packed book, and it's a little jarring almost. For torture and captured, in communist Russia, and it just, to me, it almost was like what happened here? We just took a hard left, and I'm not sure why. And so at the end, it comes together. And there's some beautiful moments in the end, but I gave it 4. Realistically, it's probably more of a 3.75, 3.5 star book, but I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. This came out a long time ago, I think 2011. And out of all his books, this has got the ugliest cover art, period. That's my personal opinion. But what I loved about all of his other art, all of his other books, is that he does the cover art for it. It's his icons. And so it's so beautiful. And and I get why. I mean, there's a little boy in the water with the sailboat, and that makes sense. But I swear, honestly, he could have done that icon, and it would have been a million times better. And while, icons have a specific purpose and reason, and they're very prayerful, and really like kind of these encounters, the truth, I get why it's not. It doesn't have to be an icon. It could have just been a painting by O'Brien, and I would have loved it 100 times better than whatever this thing is. I can't really say that I see a lot of people I know reading that book unless you're already a fan of Michael O'Brien. The book I would recommend by him is a book called The Lighthouse. And that was so good. I probably could read that every year. I just really resonated with that book. Moving on. 4th book that I read in February was Stoner by John Williams. And you know what? It's just a phenomenal book. It's so good. And I gave that 5 stars, and I did a dedicated review. And if I can figure out how to do it, I'll put the thingama link up in the thingamabob, and then we'll see if I figure that out. That book is so good. And it seems like it shouldn't be that good, because it's just about a guy who is a teacher, and then that's it. I mean, it's his life, and it seems so anticlimactic, but that's part of the brilliance. And it really is going to deal with major themes in life. So I don't know if you can see this, but I mean, I like books that give me strong character development and intentionally are going to invite me to really look at a person and look at their story, their journey, and are we dealing with, really intense themes. The next one was The Crew, and I gave this 3 stars. And honestly, I wanted to like this more, and I think I would have liked this more, except for 2 things. One, in some part, I felt like the characters were predominantly there to push the story forward. I mean, it was very, here's what we're going to do, this is the story, and all of these characters come together to do that. And I had a hard time really connecting with any of the characters in a personal way. And I want that. So the truth is that I realized that part of this is the intentionality of how this is put together, and I've heard it connects a little bit. I think J.C.M. Byrne talks about how it really is a lot like, One Piece, and so there's like reasons and meanings behind the madness. It just didn't fully as much resonate with me, and part of it was because the humor became distracting, and that's funny because, I think that was all of my teachers growing up that would say that your humor is distracting. So I have a real affection for, kind of comedic moments in a book. And there were literally some laugh out loud moments in this book. Very unique character ideas. So, there's stuff in there that was like, what? That's crazy. And actually there was a scene in there that was truly, like, for me, a bit terrifying. This whole idea of putting, a bag over the head, and I won't give any more away from that. But that scene, that was flippin' weird and creepy and crazy. I thought that would be a book I would read, even though it would scare the snot out of me. So I'm all in. I'm cool with reading more by Samir. And I actually, if he continues the journey with this, which I assume he will, I'll probably like it even better because I think I want more character development, and I think that would happen as I dive back into the world. I can see why people love this book. He's got a great gift. There's no doubt about it. So then the last two was I read Baby Don't Hurt Me, Stories and Scars from Saturday Night Live. And this was Chris Kattan's biography. And I love biographies, especially about comedians, and this was so good in a lot of ways. But, truly, in some ways, this was a little bit more of a tell-all than some of the others that I've read. So that's kind of funny to me because, a lot of biographies, they want to try to be nice and kind and gentle and not disclose some of the bad. He kind of held no punches back. He just put it out there. And I really like that about it. I think I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. There's a lot that he didn't talk about and tell, but again, that's his prerogative. And I certainly don't think this is the definitive biography. I listened to this on Audible, and I would highly recommend listening to it rather than reading it, partly because I love listening to it. I can envision him a little bit better. So, and then the last I read for February was the 3rd installment of the Hybrid Helix by J.C.M. Byrne, Blood Reunion. And I think that J.C.M. Byrne is getting better and better with each of his books. I'm in for all of it. So, wherever he wants to take me on this thing, it's going to be flipping awesome. I think he's getting better and better and better. The creative juices, I feel like, are always kind of at work with him. And I love some of the familiar characters that keep popping in, and I want more of those. So, the heritage and the history, and you start realizing, wait a minute, we're dealing with, worlds and peoples and cultures and creative beings. And wait a minute, is that a vampire? Oh my gosh, is that a shark? Well, what's happening? And, wormholes and space and sentient ships, and it's all there. And so I did an interview with Mr. Byrne, and so I will try to put that up there somewhere if I can figure that out as well. And yeah, it's a long one. So you know what? We just kind of hung out for a while. I felt like with Byrne, you care for the people that he's giving to you. There's so much on the character development and the world building, but you also have an action-packed story. So again, he's up there for me, super top. All right, so I'm getting ready for the new month. I'll do a new video talking about what I'm going to read and how I failed my TBR list and MBR list. Okay, so it's coming, but I just wanted to get something rolling. All right, you know what to do. Lots of stuff there. There's the Amazon wish list and the whatevers and the whatevers and the whatevers. So anyway, I love this stuff. I hope you do too.